Have you ever stood up from your favorite recliner and felt like your legs were moving in slow motion? Or maybe not quite responding the way you expected? Maybe there was a slight wobble, a stiffness that made you hesitate, or even a moment where you had to steady yourself before taking that first step. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. These little signs often sneak in as we get older, and most of us just brush them off with a sigh and a chuckle. Getting older, right? But what if I told you it's not just age? That some of the things we do, things that feel totally normal, might actually be weakening our legs without us even realizing it. I'm talking about habits we pick up over time. Habits that feel comfortable, safe, even logical, but end up quietly chipping away at our strength, our balance, and eventually our independence. Today, I want to gently bring those habits into the light, not to scare you, not to overwhelm you, but to give you back a little more control, a little more strength, and maybe even a little more confidence. Because when we know better, we do better. And that goes for our legs too. We're going to talk about 4 sneaky habits that many people over 65 fall into without even thinking about them. And more importantly, I'll walk with you through how to make small changes that can help you stay steady, strong, and active. Let's begin with one of the biggest culprits, sitting too much. Now, before you say, well, I'm retired, I've earned the right to sit and relax, let me say this: yes, you absolutely have. You've spent a lifetime working hard, and your body deserves rest. The problem isn't the sitting itself, it's the length of time we sit without moving. Think about this. How many times have you settled into your chair in the morning with a cup of coffee, then suddenly realized it's already lunchtime and you haven't gotten up once? Or maybe you get absorbed in a show or a good book, and before you know it, it's been 3 hours. These long periods of stillness cause our leg muscles to essentially go to sleep. And the longer they stay asleep, the harder it is to wake them back up. There's even a name for it: disuse atrophy. It's when your muscles slowly shrink and weaken from lack of use. The changes are subtle at first. You might feel a little slower getting up. Maybe your knees creak more than they used to, or you feel winded walking up a short flight of stairs. And over time, the muscles in your thighs, hips, and calves lose the tone and strength that keep you steady on your feet. I remember a man named Walter, 69, who shared his story with me. After retiring from his job as a bus driver, he found himself spending most of his time in front of the TV. It was a routine: coffee in the morning, the news, then a string of his favorite programs. He told me, I didn't notice anything at first, but after a few months, I realized I was starting to push off the couch with both arms just to stand up. And I thought, when did that happen? What Walter started doing was simple. He set a timer for every 45 minutes. When it went off, he'd get up, stretch, maybe walk a lap around the living room or do a few gentle marches in place. Nothing strenuous. But within a few weeks, his legs felt more awake. He didn't feel like he had to push himself up anymore. And most importantly, he said, I started to feel like I was taking care of myself again. Now, the second habit might sound innocent, but it slowly chips away at your independence. It's the habit of relying on furniture or walls to get around inside the house. You might not even notice you're doing it, just a hand on the back of the couch as you walk by, or a light graze on the hallway wall. And for many people who've experienced a fall or a near miss, this feels like a sensible precaution. But here's the problem: when your brain and body start depending on external support, your internal balance system starts to lose its edge. Your legs don't engage as much. Your core muscles stay relaxed, and your confidence begins to quietly erode. I worked with a woman named Nancy, 75, who lived alone and had fallen once getting out of the shower. She didn't get seriously hurt, but afterward, she developed a routine of always walking close to the walls in her home, just in case. It became a habit. But as the months went on, she started to notice her steps getting smaller, her legs feeling weaker, and her balance more uncertain. She told me, I thought I was playing it safe, but I was actually making myself more fragile. We started small, just 5 steps from the kitchen to the dining room table without touching anything. Then 10. Then we practiced standing tall, taking bigger, confident steps. Within a month, she felt steadier. Within 2, she said she'd stopped hugging the walls completely. And perhaps most importantly, she smiled and said, I walk like myself again. It's not about never using support, of course. If you need to hold on to something for safety, do it. But if you find yourself doing it just in case, it might be time to rebuild that trust in your legs. Practicing short walks with no hands, even in the hallway or from your bedroom to the bathroom, can slowly retrain your muscles and rebuild the confidence that comes from knowing, yes, I can do this. So here we are. 2 everyday habits, sitting for long stretches and always holding onto furniture, that might seem harmless but can quietly weaken the legs that carry you through life. And the good news, you don't have to overhaul your lifestyle or change everything at once. Just bring a little awareness. Stand and stretch a little more often. Walk with your head up, even for short bursts, without leaning on anything. That's how strength begins, one intentional step at a time. Now that we've explored how stillness and over-reliance on support can slowly erode your strength, let's turn to a third habit, one that might be hiding in your closet, quietly throwing off your balance every time you move. Let's turn to a third habit, one that doesn't start in your muscles or your joints, but right down at your feet. It's a habit so subtle, you probably don't think twice about it, and yet it can throw off your balance, shift your posture, and make your legs work harder just to keep you steady. I'm talking about wearing unsupportive footwear around the house, or worse, walking barefoot on hard surfaces all day. Now I get it. After years of wearing work shoes, dress shoes, high heels, or tight laces, it feels so good to finally let your feet relax. Maybe you prefer those cozy slippers, those worn down sandals, or just going barefoot from room to room. It feels soft, easy, familiar. But here's the problem. Your legs depend on your feet for everything. They're your foundation. And if your foundation is unstable, everything above it, your knees, your hips, your back, starts to compensate. And when your body starts compensating, that's when strain builds up and strength begins to fade. Let me explain how it works. When you walk in shoes that are too soft, too flat, or have no arch or ankle support, your feet don't get the structure they need. That forces your leg muscles, especially your calves and stabilizers, to work overtime just to keep you balanced. Over time, those muscles get tired and don't fire as efficiently. You might not notice it at first, but it shows up in little ways. Feeling off balance while turning a corner, tripping more often on rugs or thresholds, or feeling pain in your knees that wasn't there before. And barefoot walking. It might feel freeing, but for aging feet and legs, especially on hardwood, tile, or concrete floors, it can be a recipe for discomfort and weakness. Our feet lose fat padding as we age, which means walking barefoot puts more pressure on your heels, balls of your feet, and joints. That pressure travels upward, affecting how your legs absorb impact and move through space. I'll never forget the story of Dennis, a 68-year-old retired firefighter who was in great shape but started feeling a strange tightness in his calves and hips. He hadn't changed his diet or his routine, and his doctor couldn't find anything serious. One day during a check-in, I asked him what kind of shoes he wore around the house. He laughed and said, "None. I haven't worn shoes at home in 20 years." That was the light bulb moment. We got him into a pair of supportive indoor sneakers. Nothing fancy, just something with firm soles, a slight heel, and good arch support. 2 weeks later, his calves stopped cramping, and his stride felt smoother. I didn't realize how much my feet were messing with my legs, he told me. Now I get it. The takeaway here isn't that you can't ever enjoy cozy slippers or feel the floor beneath your feet. It's about balance, literally and figuratively. Having one good pair of supportive indoor shoes you will wear consistently, especially when standing, cooking, cleaning, or walking from room to room, can make a dramatic difference in how your legs feel and perform. The added support helps your joints align properly, reduces fatigue, and gives your legs the solid base they need to stay strong and stable. Now, we've talked about long sitting spells, relying too much on furniture, and unsupportive footwear, but there's one more habit I want to talk about. This one is different. It doesn't come from your physical actions, but from a quiet, persistent voice in the back of your mind. It's the habit of playing it too safe because you're afraid of falling. Now, don't get me wrong, fall prevention is incredibly important. No one wants to take a tumble, especially when we know how serious the consequences can be after 65. But there's a line between caution and overcaution. When fear starts guiding every movement, when you start avoiding stairs even though you could take them, when you turn down walks with friends or skip your morning garden routine, not because your body can't do it, but because you're afraid, you're giving fear a seat at the table. And fear, when it becomes a habit, can be just as damaging as weakness. Here's what happens. When you avoid using certain muscles because you're worried about getting hurt, those muscles slowly weaken. Your balance starts to slip because it's not being challenged. Your posture stiffens because you're always anticipating the worst. And the less you move, the less confident you feel moving. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. I remember a woman named Eileen who was 80 when she slipped on a wet patch outside the grocery store. Thankfully, she only ended up with a bruised hip and some shaken nerves. But after that, she told me, I stopped walking outside unless someone was with me. I just didn't trust myself. The problem was, no one was always available to go with her. So she stayed in. She sat more. Her legs weakened. 6 months later, she was struggling just to walk around her kitchen. It took time, but with gentle encouragement and a structured balance program, Eileen started moving again. We started with small walks indoors, then around her backyard, then to the mailbox. Slowly, her legs strengthened, but more importantly, her confidence came back. She said, I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't realize I was limiting myself. Here's the truth I want you to hold on to. Being careful is wise. But trusting your body to grow stronger again, that's powerful. Your legs were made to move, to carry you, to adapt. And unless your doctor has given you strict limitations, it's usually safer to build strength with movement than to shrink from it out of fear. So take a moment right now and think, have you been sitting a little too long between movements? Have you been touching walls just to feel secure? Are you walking around in socks or flat slippers, wondering why your balance feels off? Or have you stopped doing something you love, like gardening, walking the dog, or taking stairs, because of a what if that plays in your mind? These are the habits that sneak in, not because we're lazy, but because we're human, because we want to be safe, because we want to be comfortable. But sometimes, what feels comfortable in the short term ends up slowly chipping away at our strength in the long run. Let's not let that happen. Let's take these habits, hold them gently in our hands, and decide, not with shame, but with awareness, what to do next. Because your legs still have so much life left in them. And with the right care, the right support, and a little movement each day, they can carry you farther than you think. Now that we've walked through these 4 silent habits, let's talk about how to turn things around. Because even if you've done every one of these things for years, your body can still bounce back. It just needs one thing, your permission to begin. Your body can still bounce back. It just needs one thing, your permission to begin. And I mean that sincerely. Because change doesn't start with a gym membership, or a rigid routine, or even perfect motivation. It starts with a simple yes. A quiet decision to treat your legs and your whole self with a little more care, intention, and trust. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking, I've had these habits for years. What difference will a few changes make now? And I understand that feeling. When something has become part of your daily rhythm, it's easy to believe it's too late to shift it. But let me tell you something I've seen again and again in people well into their 70s, 80s, even 90s. The body responds. It always does. Slowly, gently, but faithfully. Your muscles remember. Your balance remembers. They're just waiting for the invitation to come back to life. Let's start with the simplest change. Break up your sitting time. No need to set a complicated timer or guilt yourself for relaxing. Just try to stand up every 45 minutes or so. Even if you only take a few steps or stretch your legs beside the chair, that moment of movement sends a signal to your body. We're still here. We're still strong. You can build it into your day naturally. Stand up during commercials. Walk to the window and take a breath of fresh air. Refill your water glass more often. These little acts matter more than they seem. Next, try walking from one room to another without touching anything for support. Just once a day, start with a short path, maybe from your bedroom to the bathroom. Walk slowly. Focus on your posture. Keep your head up, your shoulders back, and feel your feet connect with the floor. If that feels okay, do it again the next day. Over time, your muscles will re-engage, and your body will start trusting itself again. And if you've been living in soft slippers or walking barefoot indoors, consider getting a pair of supportive house shoes. They don't have to be orthopedic or expensive. Just something with a firm sole, a little cushioning, and some structure. Something your feet can truly sit in, not just slide around. It might feel odd at first, especially if you're used to going barefoot. But give it a week. You'll likely notice your legs feel less tired, your posture improves, and even your back might ache less. Now for the most powerful piece, rebuilding your confidence. If fear has been driving your choices, know that you're not alone. Fear after a fall, or even just a close call, is a very real thing. But fear loses power when we meet it with small, steady actions. So pick something you've been avoiding and see if you can gently reintroduce it. Maybe it's walking down your driveway. Maybe it's standing a little longer while washing dishes. Maybe it's going out for a short walk with a friend again. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Support doesn't mean weakness, it means wisdom. If you have a friend, family member, or even a neighbor you trust, invite them to join you. A simple walk together can be incredibly healing, not just for your body, but for your spirit. One woman I'll never forget is Maria, 84, who hadn't left her house alone in nearly a year after a scare on her porch steps. She started walking laps inside her hallway, just 5 minutes a day. That led to walking in her backyard with a cane. Eventually, she joined a local walking group for seniors, and the day she walked into a cafe with her friends without needing to hold anyone's arm, she cried. Not because her legs were perfect, but because she realized, I'm still me. That's the heart of it. These habits we've talked about aren't just about muscle and bone. They're about who you are and how you live. Your legs connect you to the world. They carry you toward the things that bring you joy, whether it's hugging a grandchild, strolling through a farmer's market, or just watering your plants in the morning sunlight. So here's what I want to leave you with. Don't wait for the perfect day to start. Start on an ordinary day, like today. Let today be the day you notice how often you're sitting. Let today be the day you walk that hallway with confidence. Let today be the day you slip into shoes that truly support you. Let today be the day you tell fear, thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this now. And most of all, be kind to yourself. These habits weren't formed overnight. and they won't disappear overnight either. But every time you stand with intention, every time you take a step without hesitation, you're making a deposit into your future strength. And that future is still wide open. It's still full of walks to take, people to meet, and beautiful moments to enjoy. If this video has resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What habit do you recognize in yourself? What small change are you willing to try this week? Leave a comment below. I read every one, and your story might inspire someone else who's just beginning. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button. We're building a space here where you can feel supported, encouraged, and reminded that aging doesn't mean slowing down. It means growing stronger and smarter, gentler ways. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Here's to standing tall, walking proud, and living with confidence, one step at a time. You've got this. Truly.